welcome to Talking TSM, the Game House's talk show about TSM's LCS team. I'm Robert Haynes, your host and your guide into the world of TSM's LCS team. Oh boy, it has been quite the last 24 hours or so, or 48 hours. Really from like 8 p.m. Saturday until this morning, Monday morning, when I am recording, so like 36 hours or so. Gosh, man. I am still a little sad over the Bengals loss in the Super Bowl. Felt like we could add that one. I still love this team. I think they're going to be great. They are great. They are great. You know, they threw it there at the end. So I'll be honest, they sound a little less energetic today, partially because of that, and partially because of the way this team played. Boy, oh boy, we have a lot to go over. So let's hop into it. We played FlyQuest and Golden Guardians this weekend, in case you didn't know, in week 2 of the LCS. And I want to start with this draft here, okay? There's a few reasons why, but yeah, we'll just... The draft was egregious. I mean, it was easily our worst draft of the season. And I'm going to walk you all through why. So we're going to start at the very beginning. Picks or bans. Okay. Xin Zhao ban, fine. If you're really that afraid of Jose Dioto on it, that's cool. Whatever. Syndra ban. Don't get that, really. Not like she's getting played consistently. And I don't know, if you're trying to ban something from Takui, I've heard his Zoe's solid, his LeBlanc's not too bad. If LeBlanc's not really in the meta, then it seems like Zoe would be a pretty good ban. It seems like Zoe would be a much better ban than Syndra. Seems like that would be the case. And then you ban the Karma, which is fine. That's cool. I don't really have an issue with that one, to be honest with you, or the Xin Zhao ban. They banned Zeri. Great. Glad. Don't have to play that or play against that. They banned Rice. Okay. Also, thank you. That's fine. I mean, I don't mind Kaido on it, obviously, but, Rice is a champion that can be obnoxious, so whatever. And they banned the Gwen from us. I don't know if FlyQuest just forgot. We don't play Gwen, so thanks. And then we get into the picks, and I'm gonna just kind of roll the tape here. I'm not like gonna show it to you guys, but I'm gonna walk through my thought process as this next few minutes are going on. And normally I'm not going to do this, but this draft is just so confusing. I don't know. First pick though is the Lee Sin. I'm cool with that. I said on Thursday's show, let's see Spica on something like a Lee Sin. I don't mind that. Again, I didn't mind the Poppy overall, and I still really don't. But hey, Spica's, on Lee Sin's good. You give over the Jinx. That's fine. I have no issue with that. They first pick it, and that's cool. We then see the Tom Kench come out, which I was a little surprised by. I haven't really seen much Kench. That's cool. Then, we get Spica hovering the Nautilus here. And I'm like, okay, I mean, that's fine. Lots of CC, good team fighting. The only problem is that the ult, if you put it on to Jinx, can be eaten by the Tom Kench. Last second, we switch it to Aphelios. Fine. Aphelios for Jinx trading is kind of how AD carry is going. And then we hover the Rel here. Right? And Kaido is hovering the Rel. And I'm like, okay, good. A lot of good engage. they're going to have to use the um, the Tom Kench ultimate, like a lot. That's great, especially defensively. And early on, he can't really do anything to protect the Jinx. Like, this is good, I'm thinking. And then, for some stupid reason, we blind pick the Victor. I'm sorry, but what? So you gave them first AD carry choice. Okay, that's fine. You traded for the Lee Sin. No true worries there. Then you get the Aphelios trade, which is expected. But again, like, I'm sure, and we'll see this in the second game, I'm sure they would have preferred Jinx to the Aphelios, but fine. And then you give them a free counter pick because you're so worried that Kaido won't get Victor? What? I'm sorry, but what? This guy plays like 25 different champions or whatever, and you're going to sit here and tell me that Victor is such a priority for you, even though his win rate's really low. He just hasn't looked like some domineering pick. I think he's just a super safe pick, and you hope that everything else around you goes well. But that disrespect shown to Takui is ridiculous. And I'm sorry, but, like, you... free? And so what are you going to do now? You're either going to try to counterpick for Huni, although, to be honest, you don't have to if you're FlyQuest, right? You could save, no matter what, you could save top for counterpick. And so, Huni's screwed. Oh, you're going to save it for Shinyi? When you already know their bot lane? I mean, I'm sorry. I just don't understand that. Somebody may know drafts better than me, and they can talk me through it. I am a lowly silver to gold player. I understand that. I watch a lot of these games, though. I watch them very intently, and I specifically watch the draft because I actually find it to be what really separates League of Legends in a lot of ways from a lot of other games. I think the draft, is extremely interesting. But I don't think I'm wrong on this one. I don't know why the hell you give over a free counter pick when Kaido plays so many things. And his counter pick would be unbelievably strong, I'm sure. I mean, God, man, this one just such a weird and it's not like you needed Victor to be like able to do anything. I mean, he had a 17% win percentage. I'm watching this right now. Heading into this, they get the J4. Cool. They have shown absolutely nothing. They have both of their solo laners still have counterpick. And you're still going to get into the fact that Takui hasn't picked his pick. We know what he's good at. So they banned the Thresh. Another pick you could have easily taken with Aphelios. And instead of the Victor, but nah, we're going to take Victor instead of Thresh or Rel. Unbelievable. I mean, it's just like, and then you head into these next draft phases, and you ban Orianna? I'm sorry. Excuse me? Let me look this up one more time here, just to make sure I'm not losing my mind here. See here. Orianna's his most played champion. Fine. Syndra's his most played champion. Fine. I get it. That's fine. But they're not like super in the meta right now. So I don't understand those. We know LeBlanc and Zoe are in the meta, and he's pretty strong at those. Right? So, okay. I will concede Orianna and Syndra right now. Fine. And if you're that worried about it into the Victor, fine. Okay? Fine. Whatever. FlyQuest bans here. Let's see. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure it's Rel, though. Yeah, it is the Rel. Okay. Now, then we have the opportunity to take away Takui's Zoe for the third time in this game. And we banned Corky. I would have even been able to accept Ari. But guess what? Now you have banned a champion that Takui has played 4 times to middling success and never played it, I don't believe, on the main stage of a major league. Let me make sure No, he did. He played it twice in the lock-in tournament. Okay. Twice in the lock-in tournament. Didn't do so hot on it. So, okay. So 2 of his 4 times and both of the losses on Corky came in lock-in. Okay. And oh, guess what? He gets his Zoe. And not just that. But they still don't have to. They still get counterpick in the top lane. I mean, God. Come on, man. We got counterpick in support. And that's it. I know FlyQuest gets to pick last. I understand that. That is their advantage. Okay? And you generally want to pick stronger picks on, I believe we're on blue side. So I don't look at it as like which side, like color they're on right away. I just watch the draft for the draft. And I understand there are certain bans you have to do. You know, there are certain ways that you have to do these drafts. But like, you are giving them everything that they want. Everything. And so then we finish with Crocodile and Rakan. And Crocodile's safe, sure. That is a safe blind pick. But you didn't have to have a blind pick for Huni. Like, you could have picked Rakan, or, well, more realistically, you could have picked Thresh and Rel in that third pick there for Kaido. Easily. Very, very easily. And they didn't. And then at least you get one solo lane counter, right? Because guaranteed at this point, you know, in that point in the draft, at a minimum, you would have gotten one counter pick at a minimum. And if FlyQuest were really feeling bold, they could have picked something for Takui instead at the third round, and then you maybe even get, I don't know, a little bit more information, I guess, at an earlier time for it. They just pick Kumo, the ultimate scaling, you know, with the Ornn. He is on Ornn duty. He's on Ornn and support, you know, duty. They understand that. But then you look at this draft, even in its entirety, right? Outside of the actual draft itself. And again, I'm sorry to spend like 10 minutes on this. I know this is going to be a little bit of a longer show. We got a lot to go over, but like, I wanted to break this down. And again, maybe I'm looking at this wrong. I know that Syndra can be played. I know that Orianna can be played at any time. And I know that Corki is strong. I just don't, you know, the draft really for me just goes downhill with the Kaido Victor pick. It really does. I understand that it must have been a priority for them. Maybe that's really what it is, but it just, okay. I'm rambling. I'm going to keep going here. Okay, anyways. So, Renekton into Ornn. Okay, Renekton wins early. You know, decent amount into the mid game as well, and some, you know, team fights. But as the game goes on, Ornn is just going to continue to just, you know, pump up everybody else and be a CC, you know, tanky SOB that doesn't get taken out pretty much at all. Lee Sin into Jarvan, fine. I think Lee Sin has a lot more, you know, big playability, and in extended fights, Lee Sin wins every time. Victor into Zoe, I think it just depends on, you know, the players in that matchup. Takui's solid at Zoe. I mean, he is. I saw that back when I was watching some of his tape leading into the year, and I think he's a pretty good Zoe, and he proves it in this game. We got the AD carry swap, and then you have the Rakan, and it's like TSM have a lot of good engage, right? Like they can dive into the back line great with Lee Sin, Renekton, and Rakan, but your AD carries depending on what guns your Aphelios has, they're just left out to dry. And when you're left out to dry, with a Tom Kench that can just peel for, especially at level 6, for whichever carry you're trying to jump on, you have a slippery Zoe that, unless if you get the Victor cage, baby cage on wherever they're going to be going back, that's pretty tough. And like I said, the orange scales. I mean, it was like we either win early game or we lose this game. Because while we're solid in team fighting, like, you got to get to that point. And we don't. We never really do. And even in that team fighting, it's like, I don't know. I mean, just the two beefy boys of TK and Ornn are going to be really hard to get through. And if you get through that, you still have a Jarvan that can Cataclysm on top of you. And your carries can't get out of that, which we see in this game. Everybody else can, but your carries can't. And I don't think, I'm going to check, I'm like 99% sure the tactical doesn't take Gale Force. Let me see. I'm pretty sure he does. I don't know. I'm 15 minutes into the game and he still doesn't have his freaking item here. His mythical. Come on now. Here we go. Oh, still doesn't have it. Jeez, man. All right, so he does take Gale Force, but it's at 16 minutes and 20 seconds into the game when we're already down 4K gold, 6 kills, and a tower, and 2 dragons. So that's useful. Good thing. And I don't know if Gale Force gets through the Jarvan ultimate, to be honest with you. I can't say that I've seen that interaction in my solo queue games. But you don't. I don't know. I don't feel like. I don't know. Just feels bad, man. So after this egregious draft where you give them everything they could have possibly wanted. I mean, this FlyQuest draft, you could replay this. The only pick that was kind of weird to me was Tom Kench. I don't know why you wouldn't go with like a Thresh if you're trying to look for protection for the Jinx. It just feels like maybe Afromu's just more comfortable on it. Maybe they were just like, hey, I don't really care. We just want the extra engage and beefiness. I don't know. But regardless, beyond this egregiously bad draft, in my opinion, we just continuously are giving up dragons. And I'm going to show you guys our dragon percentage, by the way, at the end of this, and you are going to laugh. It is hysterically bad. Top gank. You have an advantage, and you're diving an Ornn with 2 members who, I mean, it's like you don't know where Jose Diodo is, and you're tower diving. I get it, like they set it up pretty well, but I feel like if you have Kaido there, at least it's a little bit better. It just feels so forced. And it's like even ripping through an Ornn at level, I think it was level 3 or 4, maybe even 5. Like it doesn't really matter. Like that's still tough, and especially if you're doing it directly next to the tower, where it's very easy for him to knock you up. It's very easy for him to just bellows breath through the Huni CC, which is the only hard CC you have, by the way. And if you don't burst him down almost right away, which is, again, it's against an Ornn, it's extremely tough, then you're in a position to fail. And then on top of that, they get even more unlucky because Jose Diodo's in the perfect spot. And Spiga dies. And it's just like, God bless. You're like, come on, man. And then we try to fight at Rift Herald, and shocking, no dragons, but hey, we're going to go fight at Rift Herald, and then guess what we're going to do? We're going to die at it. And we're going to throw the game again. I mean, how many times can one team repeat the same mistake before before it's insanity? I feel like I am going insane watching these Rift fights every single time, even in Rift fights where, even in the last year and a half, where I'm like, oh, this is easy. Like, it's, there's nobody even around. My butt is still clenched. Because we always find a way at the first Rift Herald, generally speaking, the first one. Occasionally it's the second one. But at Rift Herald, to throw. Spica's just clearly frustrated, by the way. I mean, some of these dives and plays that he's trying to make, I mean, it is just like, I just don't understand these calls and where he's trying to go and what he's trying to do. I understand what he's trying to do. He's trying to put pressure on them, get some kills. But a lot of time his team's not there to back him up. Or even if they are, they're not in a good position to fight. I mean, Lordy, I feel bad for him. I mean, it's tough. He looked just really frustrated. I think that first death just tilted him for this entire weekend. I'm serious. I mean, some of these plays that he makes during these two games are horrifically bad. I mean, Spica looks like a bottom tier jungler with some of the things that he is doing. And I expect him to have a lot of pressure. I expected him to not necessarily play well individually, but like the calls that he's bringing the rest of this team on, and we saw it in TSM Legends, right? Like, and I was going to spend a lot of time talking about that, but we don't have time for that. I expected us to at least get one win. But apparently we are a bottom 3 team right now. It's not even apparent. It's pretty obvious. This was by far the worst and most frustrating game. I didn't even spend too much time diving into the intricacies of this game because I knew I was going to spend a lot of time on the draft. And this game just wasn't worth it. I mean, 4 kills to 17, giving up all the Drakes. Got a couple towers. Congratulations. I think we got first tower. Woohoo. Great job, guys. First tower, and then we did nothing. I mean, I just don't understand how last week they actually looked pretty solid. Their early game was okay. They were making some okay decisions. Like, you could tell that there were things that were clearly not, like, worked out yet. But then you pull out this game and you look so much worse. I mean, FlyQuest is clearly our kryptonite at this point. I mean, I just don't know how else to put it with them. They just seemingly have our number at all times. I mean, it's like a confidence boost for Jose Dioto every time. I don't know. Let's just move on. Let's just move on. You guys are going to see Golden Guardians here. Long game, a long list of things. The draft initially started off a lot better. Now, I didn't get to watch the draft on this one live. Was with family for the Bengals game and had to watch this game, with them. But I just was busy, so I missed the draft. So I went back and rewatched the draft. Don't have a humongous problem with the draft initially. Get Spica Zinjao, okay. Get Tactical Jinx, cool. And then we picked the Lulu, I believe. I believe that was the order. Yeah, that's definitely the order. So in my mind, I'm like, okay. This is great. We are playing to buff up the Tactical. Give him a chance to carry this game. Which, by the way, he had 10 kills this weekend. He actually looked pretty solid. Laning phase is still questionable, but that requires, both teammates to be playing well. And, well, frankly, Shinyi's not right now. But Tactical was, out of everybody, the only one who I thought looked a lot better this weekend. And we're going to see that in this game. So, again, this draft is like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, this is solid. Then we pick the Vex right after we've already seen, I think, everything except for the Graves. And I'm like, okay, like, into Victor, like, it's not as strong in terms of, like, I don't think, like, that the DPS is going to be there necessarily. And I mean, you look at it in terms of the damage graph, and it's pretty clearly not there, and that's not what Kaido is looking for. I mean, it's to help, set up kills with the fear and hopefully keep Pride Stalker and that Zed from being too much of a problem. And then we start hovering over the Rel. And I'm like, oh, Lordy, no, please don't tell me that this is Lulu top with Smite. Even Lulu top without Smite, I would have been okay with. I know that Huni understands how to play Lulu well, especially in lane. But you're going to tell me that arguably one of our only consistent players throughout these first few games, and I say consistent in terms, it's a relative term for the rest of this team, but you're going to tell me that you're going to play this strat when we can't even communicate a front-to-back team fighting comp? When you're telling me that one of the only players that you could play through, you're gonna bank on Tactical, who hadn't been great up until this point, especially in week 1, looked better in the FlyQuest game, but still not great. You're going to tell me that we're putting the eggs in that basket? What are we doing? Chawi, come on, man. This team can't even play a normal comp, and you're pulling this out? There is so much coordination that has to happen with this, and yes, you're putting it into the most veteran player's hands. That is the one saving grace of this and why it almost works in this game. But what is the thought process behind this? I mean, FlyQuest played this twice. They know how to play against this. Or not, excuse me, Golden Guardians. They played against 2 weird comps. They're ready for this. They saw the Enchanter mid and the Enchanter top. They know. If there's any team that is fully aware outside of FlyQuest, because they played it twice, it's Golden Guardians. And you're going to sit here and tell me that you're gonna play the comp that they know into them, that they are prepared against, that they've seen in person? Like, that's all I can say. I don't know. I don't get it, man. Like, but here's what saves this draft for me. If you can do this, you move Huni or you move the Lulu and you put it into the bot lane with Shinyi. Don't love him on that, but hey, Lulu's pretty strong, especially with Jinx. Like, really good with Jinx. Like, extraordinarily good with Jinx. I think they'll be fine. Especially considering Golden Guardians were kind enough to go 80 carry support at the very start. You know what you're getting into. You knew it. I don't love the Lulu into the Leona, but, like, whatever. Again, it's just by the end of the game, the whole point is to just buff the Jinx, which is what you do. And I get it. Like, that's the whole point of Huni's pick, is to help Tactical get buffed. And I think the idea is that you do that, and then you have the strong engage from Shenyi on one of his best champions. Fine. If that's your argument, cool. But I'm telling you, you put this Lulu in the bot lane with Shinyi, where it's still not his best pick, but it's a great pick with Jinx. And you put Ornn in the top lane for Huni. Or even Graves. Or whatever you want to. I would prefer something tanky that they can actually engage with, along with Spica's Xin Zhao, and along with Kaido's ability to dive into the backline. And I think you win this game. I think this comp, by the way, is actually very good. The comp that we picked, I think, is a strong comp. Just not for this team, not right now, when they are struggling to speak, basic terminology in the game to each other. Right? And that's no knock on Shinyi or Kaido. They are trying their damnedest. And they are, honestly, I think Shinyi was making some pretty good calls last week that they just completely ignored. And that's got to be very frustrating for him. And while he has looked awful in some areas, they are at least, he's at least trying to communicate with this team. But right now, it just feels like Spica's trying to play with all-stars that he's used to playing with, but not with these young guys. And these people who, genuinely don't understand all the nuances of the English language by any stretch yet. I mean, you're watching TSM Legends, and they're a lot of complicated language. And you have to think that Kaido and Shinyi are like, okay, I'm picking bits and pieces out of this. But, we've played three of our 4 games on weird picks. Just play standard comps for the next couple weeks until these guys understand how to play with each other. I mean, the FlyQuest one was the closest one to a truly standard comp. It was a standard comp, but you out-drafted yourself because you gave every counter pick known to man, and you gave FlyQuest exactly what they wanted. But now we go into this Golden Guardians game, and it's like the first 3 picks, you're like, oh, okay, this is looking great. And then you're like, oh, by the way, Lulu top lane. It's not a hard thing to play, but it's hard when your team doesn't know how to play together yet. I don't know, man. And it's like Licorice isn't even that great in this game, truly. Lost has a solid game. Pride Stalker is the one that carries hard, though. I mean, really, really hard. I mean, it's just like every fight, he's just on the tactical, and we'll go into that in a minute. Anyways, great start. You get the kill, like they were saying. I mean, you hear, Azale and Freak, this is great for TSM. They're ahead. Everything is going smoothly. You get that first kill. You're wiping out, everything. You were able to take the blue buff before Pride Stalker could. Pride Stalker's done. I mean, on Zed, like they said, if Zed doesn't have resources, Zed is useless. And they're, at a minimum, they're putting Zed an entire level behind and most of the jungle. Zed's not coming out of the, out of the jungle, out of your brushes to try to CC you in any way. He's trying to kill you, and if he has no money, then he can't kill you. He just doesn't have the damage, especially early on. And they made a smart play, right? We're going to go in. We know that they don't have the 5v5 against us early on, right? I mean, it was such a great start. I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, let's go. Really good start. And like they said, Shinyi sees Zed unless he has his map turned off. And you're in tower range. I don't care that, I think it was Huni makes the roam down. Yeah, it was definitely Huni. I don't care that Huni makes the roam down. You don't have to go for a play. I do understand that the entire point of it is that you get the Jinx fed, but you know how you get the Jinx fed is by not feeding the one person who can one-shot her at nearly any point in the game past level 6. And at a minimum, you don't feed the freaking Aphelios. So the entire thing that they have this advantage for is just gone. And then Spica's just running around here making weird freaking plays again. Like, jumping in when he doesn't have the backup. He's making these calls like he's in a solo queue game. God, man. And then we're at, I believe it's Rift again. And we're in this corridor. And a Blaze Olive is just able to just queue once. And half your health's gone. I mean, there's 3 of them literally on top of each other. I mean, it's not even like, oh, they're kind of near each other. No, you're literally on top of each other, giving free, easy damage. And it's like every fight I'm watching, it's like, well, why did we lose this fight? Well, both our carry and whatever squishy we have, whether it's mid lane, top lane, or bot lane, when you think about the Yuumi game and everything, which again, I understand Yuumi has to be connected, but like my point remains that like you're just giving away free kills and free damage constantly. I do mean constantly. Because they will lose so many fights because they are not spread out at all. I mean, it is like they could not go even slightly opposite ways to split things up so that maybe you only give away 1 kill instead of 3. Right? Like, it's fine to be in bad positions. That's going to happen. It's not fine, but I mean, it happens. It's a part of the game. But when half your team or more are in bad positions that allow for team fighting monsters to just easily throw out a couple abilities and, delete most of you, that's a problem. And at 18 minutes, like, they're being chased, and it's like they go into the river for some point where they see a Blaze Olive. You see him TPing right there. Go through lane. Why would you go at him? You're not in a position to kill him. He gets there before you are in the brush. So it's not like you can set it up to kill him either. I mean, God, man. This is such simple things that are just not happening right now. What I will tell you, especially about this game, is there's a fight there from this team. They are not going to give up. And it's the only thing that I can watch and be like, okay, they're going to figure it out. Because you watch this game and you're like, dude, they're done. This is 20 minutes in and you're like, they're just done. They looked horrific in the FlyQuest game. They are 20 minutes in. They threw a lead. This new strategy is just not working at all, at least up to this point, right? And I understand that you're supposed to be behind, with this strategy because top lane is going to be extraordinarily far ahead, but nobody can match this top laner. Poor Kaido is just having to sit in lane and catch waves for an eternity. But they didn't give up. This is the one thing I can say that is a super positive from the weekend. This team did not give up, and I have to absolutely commend them for that. And you should too. Every single one of you out there. I understand it's frustrating to watch this team right now, but they did not give up. Not one bit. And that is normally the first sign of a team that could turn the corner. All right, back to frustrating. Spica is just pressing at this point. I mean, every single time he can jump in and try to get a kill or try to put pressure on them, he is trying to. And I respect the hell out of him. I mean, he really is. He is giving everything he has to try to get this team out of this. But the problem is he's just pressing too much. And Tactical and Kaido, they're doing what they can, but Kaido is not in the fights. Tactical just has no peel realistically. I mean, well, that's a lie. I'm an idiot. Wrong. 100% strike that. I was thinking of the other game. Brain farted. Tactical has plenty of peel. He's getting all the resources. He's a little bit down at this point in the game, which is, I think, like 25, 30 minutes in the game, something like that. in a 40-something minute game. And he's doing what he can, but we're we're able to get the Baron, but everybody gets wiped, so it doesn't matter. You give up another Drake. We're down 3 Drakes to 1, which at least, hey, you know what? We got the first Drake. That was my whole thing. And guess what? This game is actually closer in the late game because we got that first Drake and we're not at, soul point at 20, 3 minutes into the game. Or we're not soul, I should say, at 23 minutes in the game. We were at soul point at 23 minutes in the game. But then, there's just been, no positioning around objectives either. I don't see us setting anything up. Just feels like we're trying to hopefully get a kill and then run at it. At least with Sword Art and Power of Evil, while they were boring-ish to watch at times, they at least knew how to set up objectives to, a much better degree than this team. So, at this point, you're fighting at this Elder Drake, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, we're coming back here. We just have a great team fight. And then I see Tactical just die, and I'm like, did the Elder Dragon just take him from half health? What happens here? Oh, Pride Stalker ults him. Oh. Tactical doesn't have GA yet. Now, he gets it later, but why no GA early? I understand you want him to do damage. Fine, I get it. But there is almost... outside of Lulu ult, which I don't know that Huni used all that well in this game, honestly. He used it a lot on Spica, which, again, it's just because it's who he's comfortable with. But, if you're getting killed at 35 minutes in, and you know that this Zed is fed and can absolutely one-shot you and is obviously building lethality... A gold, a freaking Guardian Angel early, maybe even 4th item instead of, I think this was 6th item. I think he ends up just selling boots, if I remember, for Guardian Angel. I believe that is how it goes down. I don't want to see that. I don't. And if Tactical takes Kraken Slayer instead, the damage is going to be there a little more. You know what? I'm not going to get into that one. I think that's fine. Gale Force is fine. Whatever. The GA is what kills me because it's in these late game fights, if you have the GA earlier, right, instead of something I don't know, Rapid Fire Cannon specifically. I get it. A couple times he does really, I think, do well because of the Rapid Fire Cannon. That's cool. But if the whole point is that, which you see this the entire game, the Tactical is running in and pushing to do damage, right? And you have the Jinx Rockets, which are extended range already anyways. Why not have a GA for when, not if, when Pride Stalker jumps onto you and tries to one-shot you? Because it happens a lot in this game. And if, I'm telling you now, if he has GA early, when Pride Stalker's jumping onto him, when Ole's jumping onto him, I think we win this game. Because that Elder Drake fight should have been the end. Absolutely should have been the end. In my opinion. When we die there, when Tactical specifically dies there, I'm like, oh man. And I know it was still close. They base raced it till the end. And they should have sent somebody back earlier. As you know that Licorice can burn these towers and everything down. You just know it. Even with that build. He doesn't have Hullbreaker, but it doesn't matter. Right? He only has to go through one area, and he's got a full wave. They should have sent, you have to send Kaido back. But, if Kaido was there earlier, I think, and is able to defend at the tower instead of at the, at the Nexus tower, I think he has a better chance. Because here's the deal, he just has to poke, right? And instead, Licorice can just kind of just hit the tower because he's got a full wave coming in. And it's if you send, because Kaido is not when they were fighting in the base, it wasn't about Kaido. Like, I understand, like, that's kind of what he was. They're hoping that he can jump in and ult them, but like, I don't know. It was a disaster. I think they should just send somebody back earlier. They were close. They were really close. I mean, they really were. They had a very real chance of winning this game. I mean, they were like 100 health from Hooney, with one more, with a little bit more damage, because I don't even think that Hooney got to level 18. I think if Hooney's level 18 in this game and playing a normal Lulu build, I think he kills after we get the Elder. I think he kills Licorice, and I think we win the game. But it's just the little small things that they just couldn't get it done. And I'm still gonna stand by this. I know it was technically our closest game. I still don't think this strat was right. I just don't. We played it pretty well by the end, and I know that's the point. But like, you just have so many other problems with this team that them having to focus on that stuff was just really tough to me. I don't like it. And you can feel free to disagree. I have no problem with that, but I just don't like it. All right, here are my overall thoughts for this last week. I kept the first 3 up here from what I had said that I would like to see this past weekend, and that I'd really hoped that they would do. First one. Very first one here. Has communication gotten better? Initially, I said no. I still feel like it's no. You could maybe say yes because of the ending of the Golden Guardians game, but excuse me, FlyQuest game was horrific in terms of communication, and most of the Golden Guardians game was also really bad. I felt like the early games in last week's were better, thus it is still a no for me. It did not feel like it got better. It felt like it got worse. Are we playing to our strengths? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That FlyQuest game, that draft was horrible. And yes, did they all technically get champions that they're good at? Sure. But the draft was lost to draft. And then, again, that's my opinion. I think some people will disagree. It's just how I feel about it. Then, in the second game, you bring out a new strategy, and you put Hooney on something that he is comfortable with, yes, and I'm sure he has played, plenty of this comp, but it's just stage is different, man, when everybody's really trying their hardest. And you just make it so that Hooney is like Kumo and, just an extra support. When you have a guy who can carry games, who has carried games, who was getting Jace bans at the end of last year because people were so freaking afraid of him just absolutely stomping on it when Jace is really strong right now. Not saying they should have picked it this time, but I'm just saying, like, the guy can carry. And can our lanes get enough of a lead to carry? Definitely not. We have by far and away the worst laning in the league right now. And it's like, I think Kaido is the only one that's kind of close. And obviously Hooney's stats are now totally messed up because of that game. I think he was a lot closer until the Golden Guardians game. He might be the only one that actually had some laning advantages until that game. So I guess you could say kind of, but he didn't carry, obviously, especially in the games that he has had a lead. And that's not his fault, by the way. I think Hooney's actually one of the least, like, the most blameless person on the team so far, which is crazy to me. It just shows how much he's grown. I'm happy about it for him. Genuinely am. Here we go, guys. Here we go, everybody. 16% dragons. We are essentially getting 1 out of every 10 dragons. I think it's closer to 1 out of every 9, obviously, but still. For dramatic effect, 1 out of 10. That is 2 souls and 1 dragon in each game if it was in a weekend. That's horrible. That is so bad. I don't understand. Why is it so bad? Like, I understand that Rift Herald can allow you to set up a lot of good tempo plays, right? It really does. To dive into the minutia of it. It's great for macro. It does a really good job at getting certain carries ahead if you needed to. Gives your jungler a little extra gold. Right, you can push it into double towers. You can use it to open up the mid lane. Depending on where your strengths are, you can use that very well. You can use Rift Herald to really push advantages or get you back into, gold leads where you need it. There's a lot that you can do with a good Rift Herald. I understand that. I really, really do. But when it comes down to the end of these games, you are fighting around dragons. Whether you like it or not. And TSM doesn't like it, clearly. It is like the dragon has COVID, and our players are too afraid to get near it because they don't want to contract it. Which is fair if that was a real-life scenario. Nobody wants to get COVID. It sucks. I can tell you from experience. But, I mean, what are we doing here? We have not had more than one dragon in any game, I believe. We might have had two. That's a lie. We might have had two in the Dignitas game. I think we had two in the Dignitas game. Because I know we had none in Evil Geniuses. So, yeah, we have had a total of 4 dragons. And I believe our opponents are averaging 3.5 to 4. Yay. How exciting. Because here's the real reason why this is a problem for me. When you are behind already, and you have to fight at soul, right? Because the opponent is at soul point. You are almost never going to have control of that fight. You are putting yourself at such a disadvantageous position every time. And I know they know this, by the way. I'm speaking this to you all. I'm not talking to them. They are smart enough that I'm sure that they will figure this out, and I know they understand it. But it is just unacceptable to me at how bad this is. And Chawi has to make this a point of emphasis. The bot lane has not played well. I understand that. It is tough. It is extremely tough to take dragons when the bot lane is not performing the way you need it to. But here's the deal. You have an MVP level jungler. A literally the current reigning MVP of the entire league. And you're going to sit here and tell me that this guy, along with the rest of them, can only get 1 out of every 9 dragons? Unacceptable. No thank you. If this team goes into week 3 and genuinely is still just having no priority over dragons, I might just spend an entire podcast just low groaning and moaning about the fact that I might just go through each dragon and be like, okay, what could they have done differently here? Oh, well, if maybe so-and-so's in position to actually do something, they could get this dragon here. We don't want that on this podcast. I don't want to do that. Maybe I need to send a strongly worded letter to TSM and say, hey, can we please, for the love of all that is holy in anybody's life, regardless of religion or feelings about religion, anything that people hold sacred in life, can we please focus dragons? Can we please have a dragon lead at any point ever? The lanes are losing, sure, but you can still set this stuff up. They're not far enough behind in most of these early games to not have priority on dragon at different areas. And on top of that, can we just forget about Rift Herald? Can we be like, hey, we're going to do dragons instead of Rift Herald? The problem is, people are going to be like, Rob, you're stupid. You don't understand. There are reasons why they're getting Rift Herald more often than anybody else. 75%, that's great. And it is because of the fact that they feel comfortable with Huni. Right? They feel better in the top side. I get it. I promise you I do. But the problem is it's not working. You are 0-4. This is the worst start TSM has ever had in their entire existence. I don't remember the last time that they lost 4. I can accept 3. And I can even accept 4 right now. Checking next week, because we're obviously we're going to talk about this Thursday. TSM plays Immortals. Thank God. Seriously. We get Immortals and then Cloud9. Here's the deal. If we lose Saturday, we're going to be 0-6 most likely. Heading into the big weekend where we will play 100 Thieves, CLG, and Team Liquid. A weekend that we will likely lose 2 games. This team has the chance to be the worst TSM team of all time if they do not figure it out. And there are very simple ways that they can do this. First off, dragon control has to be better. Period. I don't care. And more importantly, even if you don't get the dragons, fine. But at least fight for them. My God, I just don't understand how we are giving away free dragon after free dragon after free dragon after free dragon with no vision on it, with nobody even in the freaking vicinity of it. And then when you say we're giving up dragons to go get Rift Heralds, which they are accomplishing at a high rate, I will give them that in terms of getting the Rift Herald. They're throwing the games at it and giving away free kills. Free kills. I would rather them die at Dragon than Rift Herald. Any day of the week. Seriously. That is how much more I prioritize. When I am jungling, again, I'm not good. I'm just talking to you about why my mindset may be a little bit too focused on dragons, but I think most of you would agree, especially with 16%. When I am jungling, my top laner almost never sees me. Because I understand, especially in solo queue, that if you get 4 dragons, you're going to win more games than not. Little tip here. If you get 4 dragons at the LCS level, you're going to win more games than you lose. Soul is vastly more important than a Rift Herald charge, regardless of how well it does for your strategy. Because guess what? Nearly every game goes into a soul point. It is rare that we do not have a soul or a soul point in League of Legends nowadays. The last thing I will say about dragons is, and we used to be TSM Snapdragon, by the way, so, you know, sad. Trying to add a little humor in my disappointment. The reality is that this team's communication issues are probably the main reason why Dragon is not going well. Because you have Kaido and Shinyi who are, you know, just not moving around the map, I think, at a great level yet. They'll get there. They will. But it felt like, especially for Kaido, it felt like he was taking a lot less plays this week. And, I mean, when you look at it, Kaido really didn't have that bad of a weekend in comparison to everybody else. I mean, he wasn't able to do his carrying because they clearly were probably holding him back. But, I mean, he went 3, 4, and 15 this weekend. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, in all reality, considering what they had him doing the whole game. His positioning's not too bad. You know, his laning is solid. I don't have a major issue with Kaido right now. 25% first blood. The only first blood we got was with our boy Shinyi taking a kill in the bot lane. And not even taking it in a bad way, just, I mean, getting that kill. Boo! Boo! There's been no early moves. Where is Spica in the first 8 minutes to 10 minutes of every game? And then when he does try to make a move in the top lane, he's vastly overestimating their ability at that point. Boy, oh boy. Maybe that should be the name of the episode. Boy, oh boy. Rough early. These last two games, man. They're just, even the last four for Spica. I mean, he's just not doing much. And I guess I get it. Like, they tried to do a little bit more this game. I'm talking about, like, throughout the game. Like, there are points where Spica does great things in the early game. The first kill in the Golden Guardians game and the pushing out of said jungler Pride Stalker who carried the game even though he was put so far behind at the beginning. That's a good start. The FlyQuest game where they are attempting to dive Kumo. Kumo's not better than Huni. That's true. But if that gank is so, like, it's a coin flip. You don't know. Like, you want to take 60-40 chances in the early game if you're gonna do a 2v1. That ain't it, guys. That ain't it. Into an Ornn. And without knowing where Jose Diodo is. Just bad, man. I just don't get it. Just bad. And then it's just like in the Poppy games, he just didn't do anything. He just farmed. And people were telling me, oh, well, Poppy, like, isn't great in the early game. Maybe. I've seen Poppies in the LCK and the LPL. They're pretty solid in the early game. They're making plays. Goal difference at 15 is, we're almost 2,000 gold down at 15 minutes. It's the worst in the league, by the way, by a pretty substantial margin. And again, when you play those, support, top picks, like, it's gonna skew it a little bit. But, like, we actually, I think, had one of the, like, lowest deficits for a support top lane, I believe, in the LCS. I'd have to go back and check that for sure. But by 10 or 15 minutes, you're expecting to be down like 3 to 5K gold. I think we were down like 1.8 to 2K, somewhere around there. Like, it was within striking distance. Nothing too crazy. And even, like, the sad thing is like, for that Golden Guardians game, right? Like, we have Spica so far ahead that tactical, or that if they just play a standard game, if they don't die in the bot lane in a stupid fashion and get Pride Stalker back in the game, I think genuinely TSM just roll over this Golden Guardians game. I don't even think it's close, because you already have a substantial lead in a game where your goal is to not be down by too much. And you already have Huni. Like, Huni was roaming way before I've seen almost. Like, I think he only had to sit for like 2 waves because of the kill. And then he's already roaming and getting out onto the map. By far, just the biggest mistake that Shinyi has made so far. And I'm going to spend 2 minutes on this. Shinyi has looked really, really great at times and really, really bad. And that's part of being a young player. It's fine. But at the same time, like the Rakan death in the middle of the jungle, you just, where you at, my guy? What are you doing? You can see these individuals. You know where they're coming from. And you have nobody to jump to. So what are we doing? What's going on here? And then, you see the amazing play that he made to get us back in the game for Golden Guardians, and almost makes you forget about the incredibly bad play in the bot lane. They are clearly transitioning into this LPL Chinese style of game. And they're getting there. They are making strides. And eventually it will be good. But this team is not good enough to have major draft gaps. They need to play standard comps from here on out. They need to make good decisions in the draft consistently. I have had at least one major problem with every single one of their drafts, and I am not a draft expert by any means, but there are very clear decisions that they are making that are not working. And nobody's going to have a perfect draft. I understand that. But you have to play to your team's strengths. And Chawi is not right now. He's consistently putting one of his new players in a bad position. And the FlyQuest game is, I said it 10 times, here comes 11. It is unacceptable how bad that draft was, in my opinion. Giving over every counter pick except for support. And then picking that support when you could have easily just picked Thresh. Or Rel. Either one would have been fine. But you didn't. Oh, boy. Here's the reality. And I'm still going to say this. We have to be patient. And I'm being as patient as I can to accept the losses and the way that they have looked. I truly believe this team will get better. And I think they will hopefully learn from these mistakes. And spring doesn't matter. That's fine. But you still got to win some games, guys. Even Astralis, when they were 0-9, they at least were looking like they could have won most of their games. Right now, I would guess you could say the first 2 games they kind of could have won, and the Golden Guardian games they definitely should have won. I hope that they use that Golden Guardians game as a springboard. Hey, you guys came back. You guys played the comp relatively correctly by the end of the game. Not at the beginning, not in the mid lane, not in the mid phase, but for sure by the late game. I just want to see them get better. At this point, I can tell you this much. I don't expect them to make playoffs. It would be really, really hard for them to make it at this point. I mean, I'm pretty sure it takes a minimum of 8 wins generally. So that means that we have 6 more losses to give, and I don't see our loss streak stopping anytime soon, realistically. So now for me, it's if they can win like 5 games this split, then and they're making progress heading into the summer, then I will accept where they are at for now. But if this team wins like 1 or 2 games, I don't really know what to say. I don't really know what you do there because, I mean, you have 3 pieces at least that are solid. Huni, Spica, and Tactical should be a lot better than they have been. Like, people are going to want to try to paint this onto Kaido and Shinyi. I think Kaido has been fine. I think Shinyi's made bad decisions, but that's what rookies do. You still have 3 pieces of, LCS championship caliber players who are not playing up to that standard. I don't expect them to, but right away, but at some point they need to figure it out. Looked like Tactical might have figured it out this week. He looked especially good in that Jinx game. After I just said that I don't think he had been playing Jinx very well, and I know she's a standard pick, and I don't think he'd ever really been in a Jinx meta, but he had not looked good on her in the past, but he looked good when given the chance to carry, and I think he almost did. They were probably, seriously, I mean, I think they were like 200 damage away from winning that game. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. It's going to be a long split, though. I hope you all will just accept that, and we'll try to work through the different issues that they're having. The show did not go as long as I thought it was going to. Honestly, I thought it was going to be like close to an hour and a half, but I kept it within an hour. The draft thing is what took the extra time, but we'll deal with that. If you like this show, please take a second to like, subscribe, and comment if you're watching on our YouTube channel. Hit that bell icon so you don't miss another episode. Let's continue to make this one of the most watched TSM podcasts, and I think one of the most watched LCS podcasts out there. I appreciate that, seriously. Take a second to share this with your friends. I'm taking a little hiatus from social media, to be honest with you. It's been a rough couple weeks, but you can still follow me at TGH Robert Haynes. If I have anything to put out on this show in terms of moving things around or whatever, then I'll let you know there. You can also follow the Gamehouse at TGH Esports. Lastly, head to thegamehouse.com. We're going to have a lot of great articles still coming out this week. I might take a little bit more of a deeper dive into the Dragon problem in a piece if I have some time to. We'll see. But yeah, a lot of great content coming out. Go hop on over there. With that, thanks for tuning in. This show comes out every Monday and Thursday and is exclusively for your TSM earholes. I'm Robert Haynes, and this has been Talking TSM. See y'all Thursday.